branch in the military did you serve in, and when?
So I served in the United States Navy from 2009 through 2011, and then I switched over to the Marine Corps, and I'm still serving in the Marine Corps today.
I'm United States Air Force. I was '07 to 2010.
I was U.S. Army from November 1984 to March 1988.
How did you choose your branch of service?
So I initially wanted to go into the Navy because I wanted to be a pilot, and then I changed in the Marine Corps because of my drill instructor inspired me to do so.
My father was a lifer, so he was the one that was like, you have to do it, you have to do it. And at the time, coming out of high school, I was like, Dad, I don't think so. But I really wanted that college money. So that's what inspired me to enlist.
So I also went in for the college money, and besides, my good friend had joined prior, so I joined in with him.
How did you choose your branch of service?
I think I chose mine because of my dad, because it felt homey to me. My brother was also enlisted. He was Army, but it felt a little more familiar because I was always with my dad growing up on the military bases. So the Air Force felt cozy to me.
And mine was because my friend had joined the Army.
What do you remember about the day that you enlisted?
I remember being very nervous.
Yeah. I was terrified. I remember shaking hands of people I didn't know, writing thank you cards, having a little bit of, did I just make a huge mistake? But overall, it was a good day. I was happy with it. Yeah.
I think I was just excited, but I don't really remember it, to be honest.
Yeah.
How did your family and friends react to your decision?
I think my family was proud of me. Having prior service members in my family, they definitely were excited that I made that decision.
My friends were shocked. They were like, really? Air Force? Okay. And I was like, yeah, it's totally going to happen. My dad was ecstatic. He was so happy. My brother was excited for me. Overall, I think it was a little bit of nervousness from the family, but acceptance overall. They were pretty proud.
My friends were cool, but my parents were not.
No.
At the time, I was a sophomore at Penn State, and they were worried I wouldn't go back to school. So I had to really kind of convince them that I would. And I did.
Yes.
So I followed through.
What did you learn about yourself while you were in the military?
I think for me, the biggest thing is just learning how far you can be pushed and how much you can actually do and instill that confidence in yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised with how much I could tolerate. This is silly, but I was a little bit of I was a challenging airman, so I would often pose problems with my superiors, so I was yelled at quite often. But I kind of was just able to navigate my way through it, so I definitely realized my own strength, for sure.
You absolutely find out how far you can be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Meltzer said it right.
What did your time in the military teach you?
So my time is still going, but I would say the number one thing would be how to be an effective leader, someone who's caring, kind, empathetic, understanding, and willing to work with all different types of people.
Yeah, I would say something similar. I think I really just learned, like I said, about respect because I didn't know really how to do that with my superiors. So I really learned how to, on top of being a good leader, just being a good follower and being a really active follower and helping those underneath me too. So I learned a lot about respect and how it should look like to be a team player. That was a really big one for me because I was a little defiant. But it's very important for my lifestyle as a musician and, incorporating those skills into bands, ensembles, and things like that.
Leadership for sure, teamwork, working with others that come from all walks of life, all parts of the world, and being able to adapt, often very quickly.
Yes.
Do you have any particular moments that stand out from your time in the military?
I have a funny boot camp story. Yeah, so we had my first MTI, the military training instructors, the guys that wear the flat hats. We had one that was, like a skilled MTI, and then another guy who was brand new. So he was like the nice parent. So anytime we wanted something, we would go to the nice parent, right? But then we would get yelled at because we were not supposed to be going to the nice parent. So throughout boot camp, the nice parent became angrier and angrier and how they should be, like yelling at us all the time. And one day when we were graduating boot camp, we saw that he was upset with how the dishwashers were washing dishes in the other room. So as you know, he's going through this course of becoming an MTI. He goes into the kitchen and he's throwing things and he's like, why aren't these clean? And our whole flight started applauding because he was being meaner, you know, but it's just kind of, it's a silly story, but I think it was kind of cool to watch someone else in almost the same place that we were, you know, trying to like get used to this atmosphere and somehow being like really resilient through it. So it's just a silly story, but I like that memory of watching our MTI kind of grow in a meaner way.
I'll tell a boot camp story that probably will be edited. Just arrived at our barracks, and our drill sergeant's addressing us. The guy next to me vomited onto my boot, and the drill sergeant proceeded to describe what was in the vomit, you know, the food, and then we all had to drop down and do push-ups.
Oh,
That was my welcome to my barracks.
So
that's pretty good.
I'll tell a funny one from infantry school. We talk about meeting people from all different walks of life. Someone that I became friends with, and we're still friends today, he grew up in Philadelphia. We went in together. He had never driven a car in his life. You know, he's 24 years old at the time, never driven a car. We're doing the Humvee simulators. You're actually in a Humvee, but there's cameras 360 degrees all the way around, so you actually feel like you're driving. And I was driving the first vehicle through simulated Fallujah, and he's in the vehicle behind me. And we got to a turn, and I did the turn fine and everything. And then I look in my rearview mirror, and his Humvee is just doing a generic flip because he didn't know.
He was driving so poorly.
No, he didn't know where the brake pedal was.
Oh.
So he floored it all the way through the turn. I can just see. Obviously, the simulator wasn't designed for the vehicle to flip over, and it was just stopping and skipping, and it was quite hilarious.
Who is this person? So I never get in a car with him? Yeah. That's great.
What would you say to someone that's considering joining?
I'd probably say definitely get your facts. Try to talk to people who have also been enlisted in the same branch. If you could find someone who has the same job or similar job, definitely study if for your ASVAB. I don't know if you take something different for the Marine Corps. Yeah, do your research, study, get all the information. It is a big choice, but it's definitely worth it. I loved saying that I was enlisted at one point. Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing is you need to be sure that that's what you want to do, because it's not like a regular job where you can just show up and then decide you don't like it and then leave. That's not really an option. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, I agree. Carefully make sure that decision makes sense for you, because once you enlist, there's no getting out of it.
Yeah.
What do you want people to remember about veterans on Veterans Day and every day?
I think the sacrifice, and not just of, you know, like your physical body or anything like that, but just the choice to make that kind of sacrifice, like kind of like what Dr. Meltzer's saying, like of, you know, you don't take it back. We live in a different climate than we did, 40, 50 years ago, but that's why, it is still important to show that respect, even by remaining completely silent during the pledge, right? If you're a young person, encourage others to pay that respect just for, a minute a day, remain totally silent, say the pledge, and just kind of consider that when you're looking at the flag, even in the morning every day.
Yeah, it's a service like a community service, or any way that we're helping support our world, or your small part of your world. But I think remembering that, people have sacrificed their lives for this country to continue, and I think having a day to recognize is I think people like us appreciate it.
Absolutely, I agree. It should be a day for all Americans to celebrate and remember all the great sacrifices that have been made, not only recently, but hundreds of years ago, so we can enjoy the freedoms that we have today.
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Of course. Thank you for this interview.
Yes, thank you.
It was fun.
Okay, so first question.
Sure.
What branch of the military did you serve and when?
I was in the Air Force, United States Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question. How did you choose your branch of service?
My uncle was in the Air Force prior to me going in, so I asked him a few questions. And I decided that they'd be a good fit for me, so that's what I did.
Okay. What inspired you to enlist in the military?
Well, when I got out of high school, out of Pennsbury, I went to a merchant marine school, and I was a sailor for 5 years, and I traveled the world that way. And then I got up through ranking through there as a boiler tech and as a deckhand. So then I decided, well, things are getting tight. I want to try to join the military since, I'm getting up there in age. So I decided to get in there while I could, while I was still young. So I decided to join the Air Force.
What do you remember about the day you enlisted?
Going down, see my recruiter, took us down to MEPS down in Philadelphia. Stayed all day until about 4 o'clock. Since I was the A1C of the group, I was given an envelope. Here's all the paperwork. You guys, you're in charge. And they took us to the airport and went to San Antonio that night for basic training.
Okay, so how did your family and friends react to your decision to join the military?
They were happy about it. Back then, back in '85, it wasn't as intense as it was now. Pretty vanilla. It was the Cold War was going on, so basically, in my job position as a flyer, as a loadmaster on a 141, we're just doing basic supplies overseas to Europe and stuff, and maybe going down to Pope to do airdrop and stuff, and drop 82nd Airborne or dropping cargo and tanks and road graders and boats and supplies, and then so it wasn't as bad as till '89 was Panama. And then from Panama, I went to Desert Storm, and just got progressively worse as the longer I was in. But it was all good. It was all fun. Just busy. Always gone.
What did you learn about yourself while you were in the military?
How to get the mission done, and that goes just get it done. I don't care what it takes. Had a guy, when I went to volunteer to special ops, I asked the guy, well, what do you expect out of people? Read the regs, or is it black and white, or is it gray areas? And as long as you know the rights and wrongs of doing things, you just do it and get it done. So I think bringing into this job here, you're on a timeline to get the school ready for the summer, for school year, so no worries. Just you know what you have to do and you just do it. So pretty much leadership, pretty much.
Okay, so this is kind of similar to the last one, but what did your time in the military teach you?
It teach me that I got a bunch of educated guys up front taking me to some great places overseas, and that was after my airplane was just decommissioned. I went to 130s and I went to special ops, and that was a total different mindset there, where you learn to be an A-type personality, and that's basically you sink or swim. Either you take it or you project it out, and you just go with the flow. And when you deal with Rangers and SEALs and stuff, they test you, see what they can get away with. So you learn, and also your crew members, fellow guys in the section, and to see what they can mess with you or nothing like that. But you stand your ground, and you meet some good friends too. So to this day, I still have friends that I keep in contact with over 30 years now. So stuff like that.
Do you have any particular moments that stand out from your time in the military?
In Iraq, we got lit up by a rolling missile track vehicle. Well, come to find out that it's radar guided. It's not chaff and flare. So we're jinking and janking, trying to get out of the dome with a rat. So they turned the radar on, because we got passive radar on our airplane where we could find out if somebody's lit us up. And that was a horrible 1 minute of my life, thinking we're gonna get shot out of the sky. So, but we did the mission. We dropped the beans and bullets off to the Rangers that they needed supplies and stuff, and it all worked out good. So we made it back to Kuwait, and just kept on going. So that was the beginning of the war, March 19th, 2003. So I'll remember that date for a long time to come.
That sounds intense.
It pretty much was,
Yeah.
What's the next question?
So, on another note, of course, what would you say to someone who is considering joining the military?
It wasn't a bad deal for me. I don't know what it's like now, 13 years later, but for me, it was a good. It's worthwhile doing if you don't know what you're doing yet, and you don't want to spin your wheels sticking around here. You can get your associate's degree, you can get your degree. If you get your degree and you're young enough, you can transfer to be an officer in the military. It's a way of life, really, if you think about it. It's you meet new people from all over the country. So when you go to basic training, you're all equal. You get to meet people. But if you don't know what you want to do right now, it doesn't hurt to do 4 years. And it goes like that. Before you get through tech school, you're done. You're done with tech school. It takes about a year or so. Next thing you know, you got maybe 25 months of really working. And next thing you know, you got to re-enlist. And you can either get out or join the reserves or join the Guard and continue on with the mission if you want. Or get out altogether and then you're in active reserve for 10 years. But you have your GI Bill too. So if you're short on cash, you can get the GI Bill and that'll pay for college. And if you get your degree, you can always go back in if you like it. It's a way of life, pretty much what I'm telling you. So, but I have a lot of things that carry over in this job where I still act the same. It's like, so, and people can contest to that. So that's about it. I like it. I'm sure you guys might like it too if you want to try it out.
What do you want people to remember about veterans on Veterans Day and every other day?
Probably the sacrifice that we do. Like during the war, so many birthdays and Christmases I missed. We do a lot. We were always, if deployed or gone. Stuff like that, I guess. People that didn't make it back. That's pretty much important to me. I lost 2 friends on an Army accident that they loaded up to 2 vehicles out of a dirt strip in Afghanistan, and the weight and balance was all messed up. So the weight that the Army gave the loadies didn't match the weights. So when they took off, they barely took off, and they landed, and they came back, let's try this again the other way, other wind direction to get more lift. And next thing I know, they took off and crashed. Vehicles broke off in the cargo compartment, crushed my friends, burned fire. So it's a sacrifice. Another friend of mine, Bobby McGuire, he was on a Puerto Rico accident that crashed into the mountain. It got too low in the weather, and next thing you know, boom, right in the mountain. So, and I kind of miss those guys that I know about. So it's more for them, I think, more than me. I don't talk much about that kind of stuff, but it's for the remembrance of the other guys that probably didn't make it back. So I think about them all the time. So.
Wrap it up there. Would you mind, do you have anything you'd like to say to Mr. Lass in terms of his service for our country?
Thank you for your service.
Oh,
Thank you for your service.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time in the military.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for answering all of these questions.
Oh yeah, the gauntlet of questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun. Yeah, so I had a good time. Don't get me wrong. I had a really good time in the service. So it's all good, and I'm having a good time here working for Pennsbury, keeping you guys in line.